against it because it is my right. And because the government had certain ideas of balancing out the property distribution, balancing out the society in terms of wealth distribution as well. So they had their own plans. That is why they did it. But it is nonetheless a legal right.
Because our leaders were socialistic.
So it is a lead.
They wanted to be
Nonetheless,
the
it is a legal.
champion of socialism. But they did
It is
not
a legal
realize
right.
that they did not do good of they did not do good for India. Rather, they harmed India by bringing such policies, which resulted into opening of the Indian market in 1991, which are popularly known as LPG reforms by the Congress government under the leadership of PV Narasimha Rao. So don't you think that the reforms brought by Narasimha Rao were contrary to the mindset of the constitution makers?
No.
Why do you say that?
I think a constitution as a document is broadly large enough to be interpreted in different kind of ideologies and in different kind of uh, belief systems. It has space for every religious denomination. It has belief. It has space for uh, every economic system. It has space for every kind of interpretation that is legal, that is not detrimental to somebody's life beyond a certain point and within certain parameters. So socialism as a lifestyle or as a way of life is not to be pitted against a market based economy, because see what happens is socialism requires you to be considerate of your society beyond the limits of your own needs and your own desires. But for being considerate, you have to have a society that should earn, because what happens is to donate or to give or to live a life with a certain sense of fulfillment and with a certain sense of sacrifice, I propose that one should at least have a considerable part of your life settled without any worries, so that you do not quibble upon the resources in the later stages of your life. So see, as a society or as a theory, it was very much in correct sense to be undertaken as the predominant ideology practiced by a state till 70s. I think it was very well, the state was correct in the sense that they practiced it till 1970s, 75 or 80s. But by 1980s, it was, and we find the same thing. If we look at the data at our disposal, that after 70s, it had already started to lose its shine. It had started giving us results which were not fit for our democratic system, because we had a very big population to feed. And if in 90s we were not up to the task, even though we didn't do it as a matter of a proactive change, we were forced by circumstances and conditions. That's why we had to do it. But nonetheless, the economy opened up. So this ideal of socialism has inculcated in our generation, or in a generation of people, to at least do lip service to the fact that we should live in a certain way, and necessarily do not turn into a complete imitation of the United States of America or the capitalistic societies, where the state itself is a perpetrator of economic crimes. Because if I say that, I have my own reasons for it. Every country that advocates the market-based economy has either been in a position of dominating the other second and third world countries because of either colonialism or through a capitalist outlook, and the resistance has always been either communism or socialism. Now,
One
when
final
when
question.
when what?
One final question for this interview. And let me put it for you. Do you believe that right to business includes right to profit and right to movement, and they cannot be seen or interpreted separately?
What right to business versus?
Do you believe right to business include right to profit and right to movement, and they can't be
Right,
seen separately?
right to profit.
Yes.
Yes, yes. See, this is where the question that I answered just now becomes very important. Every country that has to increase the size of its economy needs to have a very strong institutional or institutionally robust and thriving organized sector, backed up by a very fluent and dynamic unorganized sector. Now, if I say that profits are not important, then I'm very sorry. Such a kind of economy won't thrive and it won't perform. If I say that, I have my own reasons for it, because every business requires profit, but not at the cost of coding, black marketing, creating demand or supply in such a way that it becomes uh, too tedious for the buyer or purchaser of the goods and services to even consider buying or selling them.
So, do you think that Essential Commodities Act 1955 is a reflection of reasonable restriction on these rights?
Yes, yes, it is. There are certain, see, this what Essential Commodity Act does is it provides a fail-safe system where I'm not stopping you from profiting out of any demand and supply situation. What I am doing is that you cannot earn beyond a certain amount at the at the detrimental cost of putting people into the trap of poverty, or putting people into situations where they are not able to buy, or where they are not able to put into their plates certain items of their daily requirements. And essential commodity deals with that. We When we talk about essential commodities, we talk about certain essential items of daily requirement that we need, which cannot be hoarded, which cannot be black marketed, which cannot be uh, manipulated by market forces or by creating misinformation beyond a certain point, like salt, like I guess there are a set of items, more around 24, 26 items, I guess.
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I do not remember the exact
Because
content of the list.
because because this because the Indian government activated this act during the COVID 19 pandemic, and they implemented it very hardly in order to put those people behind bars who are hoarding or who are trying to hoard the essential items. But the question is, the essential term is subject to definition and subject to interpretation. something can be
Yes.
added and something can be omitted, and
So
now
this is where
and that too on the convenience of the government.
this is where I this is where I agree with the idea of Indian Constitution that see conditions, states of economy, performances of certain sectors do not stay at the same level, and you have to keep an eye as a facilitator of the economy, because government is nothing more than the facilitator in a modern market day economy. So it is always subjective, and you are rightly saying that, and I agree with your proposal here as well. I completely second you that a government should not, it should not take part in deciding or holding hands, but rather it should be fair by being observant, and it should be highly subjective in deciding what should be added in what situation and what should not be added to it in certain situations, and when it should be activated, when it should be put to uh, what use, is always a situation based requirement. And I think this is where our social experience also comes in very handy, because despite United States being, or despite Europe being a very flourishing and a very progressive society with with a very strong insistence on growth, we do not see a society which is very uh, let's say aspirational or imitable in terms of the development agenda, though, because the growth aspect is very strong there, they are very well off, but I do not find them worth emulating. Their life as as similar as ours. I mean, and it is more evident when we see the global geopolitics of Ukraine versus Russia, the the quibble for the quibbling power for gas energy, the quibblings for gaining gaining more benefit out of a, let's say, Brexit situation by one country, their insistence on being completely ignorant of the global south but advocating their rights when it comes to their rescue. So I see that despite doing everything, they are still the same. And with with a fraction of population at their disposal. So I think I'm far more better with my own way of life.
Are you done or do you want to continue? Because your
No, no,
your explanation is
I
too
think
lengthy. I mean,
yes, yes.
I don't get the point. Where is the point? What are you talking about? From Essential Commodities Act to American society, you mingled the American society with Essential Commodity Act. You have a very wider perspective. I will congratulate you for this.
No, I say that because when I when I when I
Interdisciplinary
remember
perspective you have.
when I remember when I remember the American society of the COVID times, I find that the challenges that we had, and and the disadvantages that our system inherited, we we were able to do far better than countries like America, countries that are in Europe.
Because America is the country of free speech.
So I think this is how I should sum it up. I think you can very well keep your speech when your body is dying. Okay. And when the mouth is open because you want to speak, it will naturally give in ways to uh, what do you call that? मर जाने के बाद जब मुंह खुला रह जाएगा आपका ना स्पीच देने के लिए, आपका मुंह खुला और कोविड ने आपकी सांस रोक दी,
You know what?
खुले हुए मुंह के
You
साथ
know
जब
what?
आपको
American
खुले हुए मुंह के
government.
साथ जब आपको सुनिए तो खुले हुए मुंह के साथ जब आपको गाड़ा जाएगा, तो लोग देख के कहेंगे देखो यहाँ वो मरा हुआ है ना जो फ्री स्पीच के लिए बोलते बोलते मर गया, और देखो उसके मुंह से ही कीड़ा निकलना शुरू हो गया है, क्योंकि की जुबान सबसे पहले गलेगी ना.
You know what? American government advocates capitalism and they allow every business to flourish. But at the backstage, what do is that they
I
impose
understand.
a tax rate of 35% on the affairs of the corporations. So can you
I
believe
think
that the Trump had
if a country
this
like
issue
America,
in the
I think
presidential
if a country
debate
like
that he
सुनो
will.
सुनो सुनो, if a country like America is prospering at the cost of the whole world, we can we can underline the world history after 1940s, uh, just to understand what America has done. We can very well say that the life of American people is soaked in the blood of the global community, because their their way of life, their American dream comes at the cost of people who globally, by the way, who have not been able to sleep because America has a dream to fulfill. So their dream comes at a cost of people getting insomnia or people dying without sleeping. So I think I do not look at them. Besides, see,
This man has opinion
as
on
far as
everything.
as far as I can understand, they are they are okay with the fact that their country has big corporations that are run by a board headed by a CEO of Indian origin, but I do not think that there is a businessman who can make it that large in a country like America. And I've had this experience from many people who say that Americans are very welcoming to the point that you are working for them, but they do not certainly welcome the fact that you are your own malik.
Okay, thank you
So,
for
so,
the.
so the new, and besides, when the World Bank and the whole 1945 charter is dominated by you, I think it's too liberal to say that, see, America is a very good country. It's a country that tries to dominate and strangles you. The idea of opening up one's economy is necessarily trying to bring in those people who want you to fail so that they end up gaining the better side of it.
Where is law
This is
in
what
this? Where is law in this?
there is no law, na? There is no law, there is economics.
Hey, this session was meant for law, and you started talking about what kind of professors are we having in the university. They take the lecture of law and they started teaching about economics and geopolitics. राजनीति तो साला खून में भरा हुआ है, कहाँ से खत्म होगा?
अरे तो तुमको तुमको समझ में नहीं आता है, सिद्धार्थ को गौतम बना दिए, मजाक समझते हो?
Okay,
मैं
thank
वही
you.
धरती है हम हम उस धरती से आता हूँ जहाँ पर सिद्धार्थ को हमने गौतम बना दिया. वो इतना इतना ना उबे कि कहे कि भाई इस धरती पर कुछ ऐसा ज्ञान देना पड़ेगा ना जो ओरिजिनल होगा, नहीं तो मन में नहीं करेगा. तब उनके वो आए, महावीर आए, अशोक आए, सब आके चले गए. बिहारी लोग क्या क्या कहता है, हमको जैसे रहना है हम वैसे ही रहेंगे. पनिया गिरा हो ना.
Okay, tomorrow I will conduct one more session on law. But tomorrow the questions will be much harder and you will be baffled because this will be the original questions that you have never come across and you have never encountered. So be prepared and become prepared.
I would be hoping that if we have a discussion on the procedural aspect, because procedural aspects will be uh, very specific in terms of their
Okay, I will
limitations
include
and in terms
everything.
of their
I will include
application as well.
I will include bail, arrest, bonds, and then magistrate courts, everything. Whatever comes under
Sure,
the umbrella of CRPC 1973.
sure, sure.
and we will
Sure,
I will
sure.
also have your insight on
Oh,
the
when will you be uploading this?
soon.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.